This is the Coach Dan Day Show, presented by Dino's Sports Lounge in Greensburg and Latrobe. Here's Dan Flickinger and the head coach of the Seton Hill Griffins, Dan Day.
We continue on Griffins Game Day with the Dan and Dan Show, the Coach Day Show, brought to you by Dino's Sports Lounge in Greensburg and Latrobe, as we get you ready for the Griffins and the Mercyhurst Lakers here in Erie. And Coach, we go back to last week. We get to talk about a win today. Very exciting. What was the feeling like after the win in the locker room, and did that feeling carry over to practice this week?
Yeah, incredible. I mean, to say the least, the way just the exuberance our players had, how excited they were, to be able to win and not just win, right, but the way it happened, the way that the game played out, and in that moment, our guys were really excited throughout, right after, the time in the locker room as well. And even, I will say, yes, about the carryover, I think we had a good group of older guys that even Saturday after the game in our post-game talk, said enjoy it, right, but we got to, move on, which is the next huge step of what we have to start to learn to handle. So I was happy about that. In the carryover, if anything, I think in practice on Tuesday, we were probably too loose, and that's something we talked to our players about, and again, learning that next phase, right? And once you kind of check one of those boxes off of how to create this program and turn it back into what we know it can, that learning how to be successful consistently is that next, major piece. So if anything, I think the carryover was like I said, almost too loose.
Well, let's talk about the win over Gannon last week, 25-21. So much to digest from the game, and I guess we can kind of fast forward to the 4th down and 32 play, Coach. It was insane the way that everything kind of pieced together after the game when you thought about it. Seton Hill trailed 21-17 late in the fourth quarter. The Griffins moved the ball down to the Gannon 12-yard line and then lost 23 yards on a holding penalty and a gadget play, I guess, that didn't work. So you had 3rd down at 32 at that point, Coach. An incomplete pass makes it 4th down and 32. Ryan Barabee completes a pass to Michael Alardo down to the 3-yard line, 1 yard away from getting a first down. So at that point, at least we were thinking, man, what a crazy missed opportunity. They're 1 yard away, but that sets up
play of the game.
What happened after that. But before we get to the safety, talk about the chain of events there that led to the completion to Alardo.
And I'm not even talking about play of the game being the safety. I'm saying, Ryan's impossible throw, Mike's crazy catch, that to me is the play of the game that set up the sequence of events, because even without that possibility, without that play, and what would have been easy to, just give up because of disappointment, right? It didn't go your way, you didn't convert, you're close, but not good enough, right? But that moment alone led to, not being able to take a knee, right? And so led to the initial stop. I mean, even that next play, you give up 1 yard, it's over. You give up 1 yard as a defense after that, they can kneel and get out, and completely different situation. But that play, it proves to our guys what we talked about all week, one play at a time, right? So that one play that when you walk off the field in disappointment feels insignificant, it's enormous to what the outcome was able to be.
Speaking of Mike Alardo, he had his biggest game of the season, 5 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Was it part of the game plan to get him more involved, or did it just happen to be that he did get more involved?
We knew going into this week that with the way they rolled coverages and with what they did, we knew we needed to be able to win on the perimeter. I mean, we kind of knew that, and I know you had brought up even in our talk last week about their rushing defense being one of the worst in the PSAC, but even at that, we honestly felt like our best chance was still on the perimeter, and that's really how the game unfolded and what we worked to attack. So we knew going into it, our receivers were going to need to have a pretty big day, and you look at his production, a lot of that's bubbles, right? And that's what we have to do, take advantage of what the defense gives you. It doesn't have to be pressing the ball, down the field and making these tremendously spectacular plays, moving the chains, and if a bubble is an easy way to do that, take what they give you, and I thought Mike played really well.
Well, let's move on to the safety. After taking over at its own 3, Seton Hill, or I should say Gannon, loses 2 yards on 1st down, and then the safety comes, Coach, on 2nd down. So as you mentioned, you give up 1 yard there. Gannon probably wins the game.
Absolutely.
But they lose a yard on 1st down, and then, of course, the safety comes on 2nd down. Can you kind of take us through the play and who was, ultimately responsible for the safety and a couple of guys that got into the backfield?
Yeah, and as you look at that whole sequence, credit to our defense going on the field and coaches as well. Coach May, leading that unit and what the echo was is what it had been all game. One play. Just go out there and handle one play. We knew because of the catch in that situation, you're not going to be able to kneel the ball. You would have taken too many yards, to go backwards. So we knew we had an opportunity and dialed up, some pressure with where they were. So did a great job of getting negative yardage right away, which as an offense, right, like we were in this position against Westchester, and you feel when you get backed up, there's somewhat of a panic feel, right? So immediately when we got -2, I think we all knew it's going to happen, because we started to feed up that momentum and that energy, and they went out and Justice Griffin, man, had incredible, penetration on that play. And I remember talking to Ryan afterwards, and he said when he came off after our last drive, we weren't successful. And when those guys were going on, he said, just give me the ball. Just give me the ball. And he said Justice was one particular, said, we got you. We're going to go get it done. So just knowing that they had that belief in that moment was incredible and just awesome to watch them do their thing at that time.
Well, after the safety, Seton Hill trailed 21-19. There was 47 seconds left. And instead of Gannon doing the punt after safety, they decide to do a regular kickoff. And I forget what yard line it was from, Coach. I mean, I guess when you get a safety against you, you get pushed back there a little bit. But the point I'm trying to make is they decided to squib kick to the 50-yard line, and I know the reason why, because of Darnell Carey. He's back there. Yep. He's dangerous.
Yep.
So they decided to squib kick it to the 50-yard line. Did you expect that to happen, though? Were you surprised?
Yeah, honestly, it made sense to me. And I know a lot of people question that call. You punt the ball in that situation to let Darnell get that much room. Man, we're probably talking about taking over possession at the 35, not the 50.
Right.
I mean, the only thing I'd say I was surprised about was just the velocity of the squib, to make it a little bit harder to handle. But I was not surprised at the decision, and nor would I say I wouldn't have thought about the same thing if I was, in that position.
So the offense comes out onto the field for Seton Hill. They drive the ball down to the 17-yard line, and with just over 16 seconds left, Matt Williams makes an excellent leaping catch on a throw from Ryan Barabee, gets 1 foot in, and you guys go on to the win, Coach. Just take me through that play and really through the drive as well, because Ryan was excellent and Matt made an excellent catch.
Absolutely, and masterful in the sense of just taking what they give you. And look, especially on that drive, I got to give credit to our offense coordinator. I mean, he called one heck of a game, and especially in that moment, Coach Dutton put our guys in great positions to be successful. Just not greedy, which is so easy to do in that position. We called one greedy play, and I'd probably say that was actually my fault even more than his. When Ryan took the shot to Mike.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I really think he called a fantastic drive, and our guys went out. And I'll say this: when we went out on the field, that was one of the first times, Dan. I'll tell you, when we talked to the offense, like you could feel it. There was no doubt. There was no, kind of hope. It was nope. Let's go get this done. And they went out and said masterful drive. What an effort by Keenan Humphrey had the first play, but the second catch he had of the drive, which was the third play, the incredible effort to get out of bounds and save another timeout. And it was, everybody was giving, we talk about uncommon effort on that drive to be able to give us the results we wanted. And then, comes down to a play that we didn't call because it was offside. So Ryan was, just taking a shot. Thank goodness it worked because we didn't end up getting a flag on that one, Dan. I don't know why, but there was no offsides. But, Ryan took the shot. And
there was no offside? There was no flag thrown there?
No flag on the field.
Are you kidding?
No flag on the field.
Wow, that I did not know that. Yes. I just assumed right away it was an offside penalty.
So, nope, there was no flag out there. And Matt made an incredible catch.
Well, that's interesting because we're going to be talking to Ryan Barabee, our Griffin Player Spotlight, coming up in a few minutes, and I was going to ask him, since there was going to be offsides on the play, what kind of adjustment was made. But I guess they still did make an adjustment,
and that's what
because
we practiced.
offsides should have happened.
Exactly.
So that's a great job by those guys. We kind of look at the game, and Coach, speaking of Ryan Barabee, his best game of the season. 20 of 25, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he actually split time with Chris Jones, who also attempted 14 passes. So what kind of went into the quarterback rotation? Is that something that we're going to see going forward? I know I ask you about this every week,
part of it.
But is this something that probably will continue?
Yeah, I think they both just have such great skill sets, at what they excel at as players. They both have complementary skill sets. And the biggest thing I'd say about this position and being able to rotate quarterbacks, 9 times out of 10, this does not work. And it's disastrous. And, why does this work, in my opinion? You have 2 unbelievably humble kids that support each other to a degree I've never seen before, and 2 quarterbacks. And it's pretty awesome, to watch and see and be a part of. And they support each other, throughout those roles and those moments. And what allows them, they're not playing out of fear of losing their jobs. You know what I mean? And that makes that whole situation different. They're going out to, look, I'm going to do whatever I can to help our team win. And they both have that same mindset. So, there's no doubt about being able to still package some things with Chris. But ultimately, with what Ryan's done, we're talking about Gannon. But, I go back to Clarion, and I know he had, 2 interceptions on his stat sheet. One was on the offensive line, and the other one was on a receiver not running the right route. I think he played a phenomenal game in Clarion, and that translated then to Gannon. So you'll see a little bit of them both, but I think Ryan has done everything you're going to ask him to solidify that spot. You
battled a lot of adversity as a team with the officiating too, Coach. We just mentioned the officiating on that offsides, not offsides touchdown pass. Some flags were thrown that the officials picked up that our replay showed that they had the right call on the field, but they picked up the flags anyway. And I want to ask you about Noah Davis too, but just as a coach, how do you kind of handle those things when there are some calls not going your way, especially when you see officials picking up the flag? That has to be frustrating.
And you've watched me now for 5 games. And prior to Saturday, I would say you probably have not seen many negative interactions with the officials, and that's because it's not how I like to operate, right? We need to control what we can control, and that's not part of it. We can't control official calls outside of the, look, procedure penalties, that's us, right? That's us. But, what, to be honest with you, what got me fired up Saturday is just the inconsistency. Because at that point then, you're not being fair to our kids, and if you're not going to be fair to our guys on our sidelines, it's not about me, it's about them. And if you're not going to be fair to them, then I will no longer stand there and quietly watch that happen. And that's kind of what, led to some heated exchanges. But it's not the calls. It's the consistency in the manner of which they were called. And that was part that, I want our guys to know I'm going to fight for you in those situations. I'm not going to fight for you. Jump off sides. Don't be an idiot and jump off sides.
Right, exactly.
But just that consistency in the calls was the only reason that anything on my end was even said.
Well, you did get some good news this week. First, going back, Noah Davis got called for targeting, and because of that, he got ejected from the game, and he would have had to miss the first half of today's game against Mercyhurst.
Sure.
But you guys appealed to the NCAA, showed them video, and the NCAA ruled in Seton Hill's favor, so Noah will be able to play all game today.
Yes, sir. So we get him back, and look, at the end of the day, officials have to make bang bang calls right on the field too. And I'm not trying to downplay and say and I think for us and what we've seen out of PSAC officials, I think has been very positive. Compared to, be honest with you, what I heard coming in, I think they've called some really really great games. So in those moments, they're bang bang plays and emotion is there, and I don't want to make it sound like I don't think the referees do a good job. I think they've done an excellent job all season long. And in those moments, just, the way that it happened live is different than when you can review the play and slow it down and see the angles. And, so at the end of the day, it got overturned and we get Noah back, which is critical for us.
Can you briefly talk about the process, Coach? Just people might be interested, just kind of how the process works to appeal something like that.
Yeah, so when we get the targeting call, when it happens in the first half, you actually can appeal it at halftime.
Okay.
So that crew will be able to come together at halftime and review the film, and then from film be able to say, okay, obviously the targeting call happened, but we can reinstate him to be able to play in the second half. Due to it happening in the second half, the ejection happens immediately, player leaves the field, but you can then appeal to get the first half back of the following game, and that goes to a national committee in which they review it. So we put our clip in on Sunday, And we had the answer by Monday afternoon, so we knew pretty early we had Noah back.
Well, that's obviously a welcome sight here, Noah playing both halves here today. Big-time performance defensively for Jaden Emberton-Gaines. Again, he's among the best tacklers in the PSAC in terms of tackles per game. And how about Nario Walks?
Yeah. 9
tackles, 2 for a loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble for him. Big game for him against Gannon.
Huge day. And those guys came out and played with great, I want to say emotion. Jaden kind of plays pretty even keel.
He does, yeah.
All the time. And he does his job. Every day you come to practice, you're going to see the same kid. In the same way he operates on practice, then he goes out and does a phenomenal job on Saturdays, and a guy that you can count on in any situation. Phenomenal leader for us. And then Nario went out and, I really think he just played with his heart all day long, and gave great effort and was really a guy I thought that did a great job of just the one play mentality, and no matter what happened, just take that next play and attack it. And I think he did that to a really, really high level and showed the type of player he can be.
You talk constantly about changing the culture, and one of the big things that I noticed was the crowd and the atmosphere at the game. I know we talked about this on our brief post-game chat, but you guys could feel it on the field, couldn't you?
Absolutely. I know we talked off camera a minute before about the announcer.
PJ Downs does an excellent job when he's in there.
He was awesome. Could feel that. And then the crowd, there were times, like I said, I know Coach Dutton had called down in that last drive about relaying something to Ryan, and our signaler was kind of, almost in a panic, like trying to, and I said, Coach, relax. We can't hear anything. Let him go play ball.
That's right.
So it was an electric atmosphere, really, really fun to be a part of. And I thank the crowd and community for providing that for our guys.
Well, and I noticed, too, there was All I Do Is Win was played after the third quarter. You had some J-Rock, Win, Win, Win was played after you guys won the game. I don't know if that was something, that you talked to anybody about, but whoever was playing the music, I thought that fit in very nicely.
Yeah, anything with electronics, Dan, that's not
You're
my
not allowed
department.
to touch it.
Nah.
All right, so any of our equipment.
Not my call.
Any of our equipment, you're never allowed to touch.
Nope.
He can now put on his own lapel mic, though, fans.
Yep.
So you're good with that, just not anything else is what you're saying.
No, not at all.
Coach, so we'll talk about the Mercyhurst Lakers next. Sound good?
Good.
All right, we'll talk about the Lakers coming up. You are watching the Dan and Dan Show, the Coach Day Show, brought to you by Dino's Sports Lounge in Greensburg and Latrobe. We'll turn our attention to today's game against Mercyhurst right after these messages.
If you're looking for the best place to go on Steelers Sunday or any day of the week, it doesn't get any better than the atmosphere at Dino's Sports Lounge in Greensburg. Come in and enjoy the black and gold and fill your stomach with over 20 appetizers, giant sandwiches, mouth-watering pizza, and the wings. Oh, you'll love the wings. Voted by USA Today as one of the top 10 sports bars in the nation. It's Dino's Sports Lounge, just off Route 30 in the Town Square Plaza.
Greetings, Seton Hill fans, from your friends at the Ramada Greensburg Hotel and Conference Center. The Ramada is Westmoreland County's only full-service hotel, hosting hundreds of weddings, parties, live entertainment, and business events in the area's largest ballroom, which is designed to accommodate up to 1,000 guests. All of our rooms include pillow-top bedding, a work desk, ergonomic chair, and a flat-screen TV. To book your next stay or schedule your big event, visit us online at ramadagreensburg.com.
I've been here at Seton Hill University since the program started.
He plays a big part of this team and this coaching staff.
I woke up in the ER and it just hit me there. I just had a heart attack. Dr. Suzuki was absolutely amazing. This is the guy that I want in my corner right now.
The more amazing thing was how well his group of wrestlers teamed up to help him out. And it's very similar to the teamwork that we have in cardiac surgery. I'm glad to just be part of the story.
I'm safety, Cardan Allen. This is Griffin's Football on Westmoreland Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Dan and Dan Show, part of Griffin's Game Day here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Our Griffin Player Spotlight is coming up with Ryan Barabee, where we turn our attention, Coach Day, to the Mercyhurst Lakers. Mercyhurst coming in 3-3 overall, 1-2 in the PSAC West. The Lakers are coming off of a win against Edinboro last week, 44-23. That happened on the road, although not too far away from Mercyhurst. Obviously, Edinboro and Erie as well. But what impresses you when you watch the film about the Lakers?
Yeah, insanely disciplined. I mean, they will not beat themselves. I mean, they execute at a high level every play, and you can see that within defense, how they line up, get in, the exact calls, and at times, like I said, it's good as an offensive guy because it's easy to identify that when they're well coached, but at the end of the day, they're well coached and don't make a lot of mistakes. So I think that offense, defense, special teams, everything. I think what coach has done there with just that structure and discipline and program, and they're tough to beat in that aspect of just they are not going to beat themselves.
Looking at their offense, Garrett Owens, their running back, had a nice game on the ground last week against Edinboro. Much like you guys with Ryan Barabee, they also have a redshirt senior quarterback in Doug Altavilla who has been there for a while, and I'm sure he doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes.
Not at all. Yeah, great. I mean, especially within that offensive system, I'm impressed with his decision-making ability. He's not going to just, in any situation, just throw the ball up. I mean, he is incredibly, like I said, disciplined in what he does and makes great reads and really, manages the game incredibly well. I don't think he has, necessarily elite arm strength, but his accuracy and decision-making especially within the offensive style, makes him a weapon.
And there aren't a whole lot of teams that run the old school type of offense like Mercyhurst does. Does that kind of continue with them? Are they still kind of a play action, I formation type
Absolutely.
of team?
Yeah, I mean it's all eye discipline, and not going out and just playing with your hair on fire on defense sometimes is kind of a key to victory. Well, we got to be that much more sound and just discipline with your eyes and with some of their slam releases and the way they work their tight ends. You got to be disciplined to have eyes on them for longer than you normally would to make sure it's not play action. They actually pass the ball statistically more than you would expect out of that style of offense, but it's all smoke and mirrors built off play action, which makes it difficult.
Talk a little bit about their defense, Coach. What do you see from them on that side of the ball?
Yeah, multiple front defense, for us, which I've talked with you about, is part of with us being so young up front. Is something that is definitely concerning. Being able to identify the front, put us in the right position. I thought as an offensive line they handled pressure pretty well last week, and I would expect to see us be able to do the same. Moving forward and not let the fronts affect us. Gannon was similar, and I thought we took a huge strides, to be more comfortable up front last week than what we had shown. So that's a big piece, just the identification part. And two, for them, I mean, they're going to be what I would say is the strongest box that we've seen since probably Slippery Rock. I mean, they're just stout, older guys that, could tell they've been in the weight room. Their backers are, 6'1", 6'2", 220. I mean, they're larger human beings that we've got to be able to handle in the run game.
Both teams have good return games. Seton Hill is ranked 4th in the PSAC in terms of kickoff return yardage per return. Mercyhurst is right behind you in 5th. And actually, Mercyhurst leads the PSAC in net kickoff yardage. So they have a good kickoff game as well.
Absolutely.
Do you see that being a factor in today's game?
For sure. Yeah, and what they do well it will eliminate what we do well, and that's they just line up, kick it in the end zone, and their kicker's really good with just touchbacks and not even allowing you to have a return game, which is something we want, especially with the way Darnell's been playing. We want the ball in his hands. So what they do kind of negates, what we do. And on their return team, they run it's an interesting style I can't say I've seen before in their return game. It's almost like an option style return. So it really forces you to be a little bit more man responsibilities and how you're going to handle it, and that's something that has led them to be able to have a pretty high return percentage and yardage.
I think you should try to make a deal before the game. Talk to the officials and Mercyhurst coaches. Darnell can catch the ball even out of the end zone.
And let it go.
And, yeah, it's kind of like a risk-reward thing. You let him go, let him run, and I'm sure Mercyhurst will probably take that too because he has to come all the way out behind the end zone. and see what happens.
Yeah,
I think we should try to do that before.
We've given them more freedom
try
this
to
week,
negotiate.
so
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Coach, finally, your keys to victory here today.
Yeah, offensively, it's another game, honestly, to me, I think because of their strength in the box, we have to win this game on the perimeter. I think we have some really, really good skill players that we've got to allow, to get out and make some plays on the perimeter. And it's, like we talked about earlier, our success against Gannon was not just pressing the ball downfield, but taking what they give us underneath. And that's going to be a huge part of just being comfortable and settling with the smaller plays and not winning the game, in one play. So offensively, it's what we'll have to do. Defensively, eye discipline. And I'll say that over and over. We got to be able to stop the run and be successful in that aspect that's going to force them into play action. And once they get into play action, it's not losing those keys. It's not losing those tight ends and letting them get their chunk plays. And then on our end, special teams wise, hoping to see our kickoff return be able to still impact the game, and our kickoff team. As you mentioned, you already looked at the stats. I think that's a battle and a matchup we want to see. Our kickoff team has got to be able to eliminate, some of that, put them in, backed up field position, and hopefully Hunter has a really big day with his leg.
He's been doing very well at that, so hopefully that will continue for him. I'm sure it will. Coach, thank you so much. Go get win number 2. Good luck today against Mercyhurst.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That is Coach Dan Day of the Seton Hill Griffins. We will talk with Ryan Barabee, our Griffin player spotlight. Brittany Pietrangelo is not here, so I'll sit in for her and talk with Ryan coming up next as we continue on Griffin's Game Day, counting you down to kickoff between Seton Hill and Mercyhurst.